So we got some massive news that's coming out here. News that's going to absolutely impact the Las Vegas Raiders. News that really sucks if you're a Las Vegas Raider fan. That is that both superstar pass rusher Maxx Crosby as well as wide receiver Davante Adams are both going to be out against the Cleveland Browns. To me, this sucks. This is absolutely terrible news because the Raiders are 1-2, and if you told me at the beginning of the season that after 4 games the Raiders are 2-2, I would have taken that. Because I would have said that's probably what makes sense after those first 4 weeks. And that would put us in a good spot going into the essentially week 5, past the first quarter of the season. But the Raiders are looking at an uphill battle at this point. Davante Adams, Maxx Crosby, both guys are hurt. Both guys are out. We got 3 other guys that have already been marked as out as well, including tight end Michael Mayer, which is kind of surprising. Thayer Munford as well, which isn't surprising. He'll be out. And then, of course, Diablo. And I'll be the first to tell you guys, Diablo, Thayer Munford, Michael Mayer aren't that big of a deal because I think Brock Bowers is obviously better than Michael Mayer. I think DJ Glaze might not be 100% better than Thayer Munford, but by the end of the season, he could easily be, right? If those reps that he can get, I think today are very valuable for him. He can continue to develop, continue to get better. And then Diablo, I think, is also replaceable for the Raiders. But Maxx Crosby is not, and Davante Adams is not either. Now, I do think the Raiders wide receiver, Davante Adams, being out, although it does suck, we still have good wide receivers, right? It's not like our wide receivers absolutely suck. Jacoby Myers is going to be asked to step up. Trey Tucker will be asked to step up. And those 2 guys should be the primary guys that play a ton for the Raiders. I will probably get a couple other wide receivers that come in, maybe rotate in a little bit. Michael Mayer not being out there kind of sucks because of the fact that Davante Adams is out as well. If one of those guys misses time, the other guy can play just a little bit more. And now the Raiders will be going into this game with Harrison Bryant, who's going to get a lot of snaps, right? Because Brock Bowers lines up in the slot a lot, and that's kind of when Michael Mayer comes in. But now we'll be relying on Harrison Bryant as well. I do think on the offensive side, we should be able to overcome the loss of Davante and Michael Mayer. Now, with Davante Adams, it's a hamstring injury, and sometimes those things can be a little tricky, so we're not 100% sure how long he'll be out for. We do know he'll miss this game. I do hope he'll be good to go, come next week. But it's an uphill battle, however you look at it at this point. We're still not 100% sure with Gardner Minshew. I think a lot of people are on the fence with him. I think our offensive line has been very inconsistent. But if the Raiders do make a couple of changes, it could help the Raiders have success. And I think this week you have to make those changes, man. I don't care what anybody says. The Raiders can still beat the Browns, but it's going to come down to, can they run the football? Can they have success with the offensive line protecting Gardner Minshew? All right, because Luke Getsy can call a deep concept down the field, and Gardner Minshew is not going to just throw it up because the receiver magically flies 30 yards downfield. Right? He needs time. The offensive line has to protect him. And our offensive line hasn't shown that they could do that, and the Cleveland Browns front 7 is nasty. That's a very solid front 7. So the Raiders need to put their best offensive line out there, potentially have success running the football. And again, the Browns are a good defense, so that's going to be tough. More than that, the Raiders got to be able to hold up, and Gardner Minshew has to deliver the pass downfield as well. Now, it's an uphill battle, right? Davante Adams is out, Michael Mayer is out. But hopefully the Raiders are able to run the football, and then hopefully Davante gets healthy and he'll be good to go. Let's talk about Maxx Crosby, because this one's absolutely massive. To me, Maxx Crosby is not only our best defensive player, right? He's probably one of the best defensive players in the entire NFL. He impacts the game so much, and people don't realize it because people don't watch tape. Every week, it's not just like a team comes out there and calls a play, runs in, it's good to go. And then at the same time, when it comes to blocking Maxx Crosby, it's not like teams just come out there and say, hey, we'll just, running a play. So, on this play, you double Max, or on this play, it's a one-on-one, and on this, it doesn't work like that, right? They come in with a whole ass scheme, and it changes every single week. Every week, one team does X, Y, and Z towards Max. Another team does something else towards Max. And it's just things that, you got to keep in mind. Maxx Crosby has that type of impact. So he forces teams to have to change their offense to block him. People will say, hey, Joe Alt shut down Maxx Crosby, but those are people that are legit. They don't know football, right? At the end of the day, those people don't know football. Because the thing is Joe Alt didn't shut down Maxx Crosby. The Chargers changed up their offense. They got the ball out quickly. Justin Herbert wasn't throwing the ball 30 yards downfield. He was throwing the ball 3 or 4 yards downfield. It's why he only had 144 yards against the Raiders. When you went up against the Panthers double team Max pretty much every single snap. So some people will say he had no impact, he got shut down, he's not that good. Other people that watch tape will tell you guys Maxx Crosby has that type of impact on the game plan. Maxx Crosby is an absolute star, and for the Raiders to not have him, it absolutely sucks. Now, officially, the word is that Maxx Crosby has a high ankle sprain, right? That's the official word that's kind of going out there right now. And that makes sense why he didn't actually finish the game last week for the Raiders. There was a point where Maxx Crosby said, "I'm about to run out there on the field," and a coach stopped him. And we saw that little clip last week in the actual game. But he got stopped from going out there, and to me, that's the type of player Maxx Crosby is. Like, Maxx Crosby would probably go out there right now and play if it was his choice. But the team is not going to let him go out there. They're not going to risk any further injury. And this sucks, man. I don't know how else to say it. Maxx Crosby has such an impact for the Raiders. And our defensive ends are already, we're already at a point where we're already down Malcolm Koonce. Ellerson Smith was a guy that was with the Raiders in training camp. He went and signed with the Browns this past week, so he won't be able to be essentially called back to the Raiders roster. So we'll be going into this game with like Janarius Robinson and Tyree Wilson. It's going to be a tough game for the Raiders coming up. And the only hope that I think the Raiders could potentially have is the Browns are also kind of banged up on their offensive line. Both of their starting tackles will be out of this game, so that benefits the Raiders a little bit. But we need Tyree Wilson to step up. Now, Tyree Wilson had a pretty good game last week, right? You got to give him credit. He had a pretty good game. He had like 4 or 5 impactful plays, which is more plays than he's impacted, I think, probably in the combination of his career up to this point. He looked good, and hopefully he's able to show us something in this game because we need this guy to step up. More than that, I think Adam Butler's been solid, and I think Christian Wilkins has been solid. But the Cleveland Browns do have a pretty good interior offensive line as well, so it's not going to be super easy for those guys to get it going, but this is why you're paid, $25 million plus if you're Christian Wilkins. Adam Butler is not highly paid. I think he's severely underpaid, to be honest. But I want this guy to step up and prove that, hey, I deserve that big contract as well. And this will be the game for him to do that because we need this guy to step up. The Raiders might not be able to get home when it comes to the pass rush. The Browns have a, generally speaking, pretty good offensive line, but they are hurt. And they also lost their coach, and I think Bill Callahan was a big reason as to why the Browns are such a good offensive line. But nonetheless, it's an uphill battle however you think about it at this point. Maxx Crosby is huge. Davante Adams is huge. And on the offense side, I do think you can overcome Davante Adams because you have Jacoby Myers. You have Trey Tucker. Those are 2 good weapons, right? But they'll have to go out there and they'll have to actually prove it. And then Brock Bowers is going to have to step up. Brock Bowers, it's crazy to think this, but he is this type of player. He's only in his 4th ever NFL game going into the Cleveland Browns. And he has the type of impact where you can easily say, hey, Brock Bowers has to carry us. And he can do it. And that's the type of player he actually is because he's that damn talented. So I think for the Raiders, we need our weapons to step up. But more than all that, especially on the offensive side, our offense hasn't struggled this year because our wide receivers are bad. They haven't struggled because, I wouldn't even say they've struggled because of really Gardner Minshew. I think the Raiders' biggest struggles is on the offensive line, and it's on Zamir White as a running back. I don't think Zamir White has that quick, jump cut ability. If he's running between the center and right guard, and that's where his gap is, and a gap opens up to the right side of the right tackle, he's not the type to be able to make that jump cut. Right, you'll see Saquon Barkley do that. You'll see Bijan Robinson do that. You'll see Josh Jacobs doing that. You don't get that out of Zamir White. He's not that type that can make that jump cut. And that's why Zamir White, I was not high on him pretty much for the entire offseason. He can't make those cuts. So he'll oftentimes miss those potential lanes. And to me, I think the Raiders got to roll forward with Alexander Mattison as their full-time starting running back. And I think Zamir White's a good number 2. And I think we should just continue to run the zone run or the zone scheme. But more than that, we got to fix the offensive line. And the thing is, we have players, right? It's not like we don't have the players to fix that. We have the players. It's going to come down to the Raiders going with their best 5 guys out there. Colton Miller starts at left tackle. Jackson Powers-Johnson should start at left guard. Or Andres Pete, to be honest. And then they should put Dylan Parham at center. And then they should put Powers-Johnson and Andres Pete at right guard, right? Whichever one. But those should be the 2 starting guards. Parham should go to center. Both Cody Whitehair and Andre James should be on the bench because the thing is the Raiders will never have success in running the football because those guys never get a push. They never move people. Those guys are oftentimes being stood right up. Guys are 2-gapping. They're able to just hold those guys. Those guys aren't able to move people, and that impacts the run game. And then, of course, at right tackle, we'll have DJ Glaze. I think that's the Raiders' best offensive line. Maybe even Jordan Meredith if you don't want to go with Andres Pete. But Cody Whitehair is not the guy. Definitely not the guy, right? Even more so than Andre James. But I think you can even replace Andre James at this point. But we'll see what ends up happening. Hopefully the Raiders have their shit together this week on the offensive line. If they fix that, I think the Raiders can have success. If they don't, we're going to get our asses kicked, man. It's going to literally come down to a game in which the Cleveland Browns are going to drop 40 points on us because the offense can't hold up. They can't, they can't sustain drives. They're going to come out 3 and out. Also, if Luke Getsy starts this game by running the football twice on 1st and 2nd down and then throws it on 3rd down and we go 3 and out, I'm going to be freaking mad because that's all that guy did this past week. So hopefully that's not our offensive approach. Hopefully we mix it up a little bit and Luke Getsy breaks some of those tendencies that he struggled with. Let me know what you guys think about this news, man. It is unfortunate. Let me know down in the comments below. Thumbs up, subscribe, and I will see you guys next time with another video.